The world's going mad, and we've got probably two options. One, we can stand up against it, or two, we can pray and hope that the rapture comes soon. And on that uplifting note, my name is Steve, and welcome to Christianity Out Loud and our weekly word. Thanks for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Before we get going, before I dive into these two just mind-blowing articles that I've got come across this week, why don't you jump over to christianityoutloud.com.au, go check out the website. It's got links to all sorts of things. It's got links to some merchandise. It's got links to all of these videos. They're also on YouTube and Rumble or Locals or Spotify, if that's your thing. Got a link to the book, Bread of Life, Simple Gospel. The second book starting to take shape, so hopefully some more news on that soon. Wait and see. So, diving straight in. This wins the award for the most absurd headline, most ridiculous headline, most outlandish. I don't know what adjectives you would use to describe the premise of this article. So, with no further delay, I give you from the Daily Mail, exclusive. So there you go. Trans prisoner who impregnated 2 inmates at women's prison reveals she tried to remove her testicle with a razor to, quote, stop the pain, end quote, after being mistreated and, quote, misgendered, end quote, at her new facility. Now, it's going to take some mental gymnastics that will require some stretching before we get going. So I'll read that again. Exclusive. Trans prisoner who impregnated 2 inmates at women's prison reveals she tried to remove her testicle with a razor to stop the pain after being mistreated and misgendered at her new facility. And as always, these links are below, so you can go and read them for yourself, just to confirm that I am not making this up, although I couldn't. Continuing on, Demi Minor, name of the person, I guess, was moved from Edna Mahan, I'm not sure, correctional facility for women in Union Township, I assume New Jersey, to the Garden State Youth Correctional Facility in June. The transgender prisoner was transferred to a men's jail after it emerged that she had impregnated 2 fellow inmates. On August 18, Minor revealed she ended up in the emergency room after trying to remove her testicle with a razor. And goes on, Minor claims she's been mistreated at her new prison where staff are refusing to acknowledge or accommodate her gender identity. In an apparent reference to the pregnancies, Minor wrote that while at Edna, the first facility, she, quote, went through many depressive nights and often wanted to be loved, end quote. You know, I really don't know what you do with that. I have no idea. I mean, the fact that the Daily Mail saw fit to publish that as is either means they have got the just reporting sort of, I guess, what happened, or they are completely trolling and just writing something that they know is absolutely ridiculous, or they themselves are absolutely ridiculous for publishing something as if it were objective truth and reality. Now, why do I say all of that? I'd say the words her testicle, as crass as that may be, those words, those two words, don't belong in that context in the same sentence next to each other. Now it shouldn't take a rocket scientist to understand why. That would be that women don't have that type of genitalia. It's that simple. Now, I don't know how you continue to claim that you are a woman when you impregnate women. That doesn't make any common sense, biological sense, scientific sense, or any other sense that may exist. And this is just reality now. It's like nothing exists. There is nothing. But I didn't want to focus on that article because that's from, again, from the Daily Mail, but it's from the US. I'd like to go to the Daily Mail again, but I'm going to bring this one home. So from my wonderful home country of Australia, phenomenally bright. Again, the link is below. That's in inverted commas. Phenomenally bright teen at Melbourne private school claims she now identifies as a cat, as it's revealed why everyone is being supportive. Now, I would normally think, well, obviously, that's occurring in Victoria, where they're led by just a madman. He's a basket case. And what he's doing down there to Victorian education is taking the most extreme left versions of education systems that exist in the world and going, just hold my beer while I push that boundary a little bit further. Left, my left, your left, my left. Going on. Year 8 student at Melbourne private school. Reportedly identifies as a cat. The girl is phenomenally bright but is non-verbal at school, which supports her. Now there's something. There have been other reports of students identifying as cats in Brisbane. Hey, guess where I live? Brisbane. The trend of adopting a furry animal identity is a well-established subculture. So there's a few. It's just, what do you do? What do you do with this? Again, I'm left kind of speechless. I really am. Reportedly identifies as a cat, but the Year 8 student does not speak during school hours. Now, this is non-verbal at school. Now, I don't know whether that means non-verbal in general or non-verbal just while at school, because I'm imagining there would be a difference there. I know of one person or child who is non-verbal, and that young child has severe autism, ASD, and other mental handicaps. Can I say that? I mean that with the greatest of respect. Okay? Though I know of only one child who is non-verbal, but she's non-verbal the whole time. This article says non-verbal while at school, so could be that there's psychological issues with the school. She just doesn't enjoy or can't cope with that sort of environment. It could be non-verbal in general. So, teenage girl now reported out as a cat with the Melbourne private school where she attends, supporting her animal behaviour. Now, I have an issue with that. I really do. I'll come back to that. No one seems to have a protocol for students identifying as animals. Well, I wonder why. The school did not confirm the student's behaviour in a statement to the Herald Sun, but said its support staff was dealing with a range of psychological issues. Students were presenting with a range of issues from mental health, anxiety, or identity issues. Herald Sun also reported that there was a boy who identified himself as a dog for a period of time. Again, what do you do? What do you do? On the one hand, and pardon that this may sound rude, on the one hand that's funny, because it is so absurd and so ridiculous that it's funny. On the other hand, it's incredibly sad. It's incredibly sad for a number of reasons, and I've touched on these reasons before. I did it was over half an hour video a couple of weeks ago talking specifically about the issue of student identity and how important it is for us as adults to play the role of truth speaker. This is sad because this child obviously has issues. I mean, again, I don't say issues as in, I mean there are genuine mental health problems with this child. Okay? So what do we do? Do we get to the heart of the issue? Maybe. But what we are doing, and I say we, because this is acceptable, seen as acceptable in society and culture, then what we are doing is again enabling a fantasy. That is what we are doing. Now I get, as someone who is very introverted, right, I get that some people have difficulty talking with others. They have difficulty making connections. They have difficulty speaking in public, say. That introverts often struggle with identity. They struggle to fit in because they at times don't want to hang around other people. I know that. Okay, I know that very well. There are times I don't want anything to do with any other people. I just want to be on my own. Leave me alone. Okay? But what I'm not doing, and maybe this is because I'm of the age where I missed most of this identity, transgender, furry, whatever you want to call it, really came after I had graduated high school. So I missed that. I missed seeing it. I don't know whether I would have gone down that route. I would like to think not. But the struggle with identity, the struggle with where to fit in. when it's easier to hide behind a mask, as it were, than be comfortable with who we are, that's a problem. That's a big problem. Now, when the internet came into, mainstream use, shall we say, the idea of a keyboard warrior arose. And that was where someone could just type insults and rude things from hiding behind a screen, remain anonymous. Well, almost anonymous. But you can hurl abuse at people by typing because you don't have to confront them. It's much more difficult to go and confront someone face to face and be rude. It's much easier to do it from a distance and from anywhere you like. Okay, some of the social media platforms I'm on with Christianity Out Loud, I've been called, some interestingly nasty insults. But, so be it. As my neighbour decides that this is the best time to start up a lawnmower. There you go, beg your pardon. So, what do we do with this issue of identity? It makes it really, really hard when it's easier to hide behind a mask. It's easier to hide behind an avatar, okay, an image, okay. The number of Facebook, other things, other sites and whatnot that people will post a digital representation or an animated representation of themselves rather than their photo, and it's not for security purposes because they had their photo up previously. But that also ties into it as well. Here is me, but it's not really me. And fully aware of the irony of me posting things behind a logo, the Christianity Out Loud logo. But when I do these videos, I'm not hiding behind a mask. You know my first name, you can see my face. Okay? You can see the clothes I'm wearing, the book, the mic, the curtains. You can see. Right? So this is me. I'm not hiding behind anything. But I'm also very secure in where I find my identity and who I am. And there's a reason for that. And I'll get to that in a moment. In these two cases, okay, and it should be worth noting that the transgender who impregnated people and wanted to cut off her testicle, pains me to say that, serving a 30-year sentence for stabbing her former foster father to death. Okay, here is someone who's not had a great childhood. Okay, here is someone who, making some assumptions, was probably abused, may well have been sexually abused. And what's the response to that? The response, in this case, for this man, I'm not playing the game, I'm not misgendering, I'm accurately gendering, okay? This person has cognitive problems. There is a mental issue there. What do we need to do with that? Okay. We need to stop affirming fantasy. I've mentioned this before. My children came out. My daughter came out as a 2-year-old wearing a princess costume. I can go, oh, you're a princess. A 2-year-old doesn't understand. She comes out as an 8-year-old wearing a princess costume, I can say, oh, you're dressed as a princess. There's a difference. My boy comes out wearing a Spider-Man costume at age 2. Oh, you Spider-Man, you Peter Parker. He comes out and does it as an 8-year-old. Not that he's 8, but if he comes out and does it as an 8-year-old, I go, oh, you're dressed as Peter Parker. Why? There's a difference. At 8, you're old enough to understand the difference between fantasy and reality. At least you're old enough to understand that there is a difference between fantasy and reality. When you're 2, maybe not so much. Why are we enabling this student to identify as a cat? What benefit is it for this student's mental health? I would say it's the easy way out. It's very much the easy way out. Oh, you're a cat? Okay, cool. Then you're a cat. It's easy. The hard part is breaking down the issue. The hard part is working on the mind. The hard part is reconnecting, disconnecting, reconnecting, reconfiguring what needs to be reconfigured. Okay? That's the hard part. Again, where's the church in all of this? Okay? Now, if this is a private school, I don't know whether this is a private religious school or not. It could just be a private school. The church, Christians, Christianity are supposed to have an understanding of objective reality. We are supposed to have an understanding of truth. We're supposed to understand that men are men, women are women, cats are cats, dogs are dogs. They are not interchangeable. Okay? The moment a Christian or a person who calls himself a Christian, believes in the Bible, all of that, the moment a Bible-believing Christian goes, yes, I will affirm someone's gender identity. In other words, God made a mistake. That's what's being said. If those of us who are Christian, are going to sit here and go, yes, this transgender prisoner is quite obviously a female in a man's body, then God made a mistake. That's what we're saying. I don't believe God makes mistakes like that. I can't. The God that created the universe, the God that knits us together in our womb, that God doesn't make mistakes. Okay, mistakes are made by people. Okay, we are sinful people. Okay, now obviously a mistake was made with this man, this prisoner, this person, for something to go so drastically mentally wrong. Obviously, there is something drastically wrong with the mental state of this young girl who identifies as a cat. So what are we doing? I mean, we can't go Bible bash. That doesn't work. Okay? But it's not like any of us don't go through struggles. It's not like we don't understand that there is a cognitive dissonance between what we ought to do and what we do. I mean, Paul wrote about that in Scripture. I do what I don't want to do, and what I want to do, I don't do. We understand that our nature is not to do what we ought to do. And often it takes us such a long time to turn to God first, to turn to Scripture and find our identity in Jesus, to understand that we are broken and that we need Jesus. That's the only way. We as a society and culture need to stop enabling these fantasies. We need to just stop. It is not doing any transgender person any good. It is not doing any person who thinks that they are a cat any good. You want to dress up as a cat? Fine, dress up as a cat. But you are not a cat. You want to engage in all sorts of stuff that entails. All power to you if you are an adult. You can do what you want. But you are not a cat. I will not play the game and call you something that you are not. Go and preach the gospel. Go and spread the good news. Struggling with identity. Guess what? I know someone who can take that burden from you. That's all we need to do. We need to be there. So on that ridiculous and just mad note, until next week, God bless.